Good morning and welcome, everyone. As you just heard, today's talk is on man, mortal, and immortal. And we need to understand first who man is. And that Delphic oracle, man, know thyself, falls into this. So, mortal and immortal. Now, in all of the world religions, man is divided into three parts: spirit, soul, and body. How does the wisdom of the ages look at man, and what is the difference? And we shall discover that. In modern science and philosophy, we are told that men of noble character, through his creative intelligence, nobility of his heart, and profundity of his sacrifice, produces results, whether it be in science, religion, arts, philosophy, or in a particular field through genius, and that, or a savior of humanity for that matter, and bestows his gift, his creative activity, which then becomes immortal. And what exactly is science telling us? Science says man is mortal because he's made of material essence, and at the end of the lifespan, once that material particles disperse, there is nothing left of the man himself. Well, in theosophy, it states that man is immortal, and we will look at that why. He does have that spirit, which is Atma, but this is a universal principle. It's not my spirit and your spirit and somebody else's spirit. It is disseminated and it is everywhere. It is ubiquitous. So, and then it has a spiritual soul called Buddhi. This enables us inner discernment and choosing between right and wrong. In other words, it's a conscience that tells us what to not do. It does not tell us what to do, but it tells us what not to do. And then his mind. And here's the difference between science and the wisdom religion again. In science, it is friction between the atoms of the body that produces energy or force. And once that life atoms are not united, that force is dissipated again. It goes, and there, it is stated that nothing of the person remains. But in theosophy, mind is an eternal principle. It's divine. It's with the two other principles, and it goes from life to life. This science does not accept. Is not aware of it, in fact. So the mind then, we are talking about the divine higher mind here, is immortal, and it goes from life to life, and it is not dependent on the brain. Brain is simply its tool in working in the body, but the mind principle itself is divine and immortal. Well, let us look at the four lower principles. What does theosophy tell us? That there's a lower mind which works with the desire, passion principle, and it is called kama manas. And please notice the hyphenated, because this desire passion principle is so developed in humanity at this present time that it controls the mind most of the time. And then we have the astral, linga sarira. I'm putting these here so that you don't get confused when you see it somewhere. And then jiva, or life principle, and then the physical body, which is not really taken into consideration in many of the Hindu philosophies because they don't consider it of much consequence.
Oh,
So
sorry,
here,
what is it that they don't consider much consequence?
the physical body,
Physical body.
because we get a new one in every life. They call it the cadaver, Buddhistic literature included. They call it the cadaver, and they don't pay much attention to it. In fact, it's not in many of the constitutions that are put forth. Theosophy?
Yes.
Please, come on in. Good morning. So, we have now defined the religious aspects of us, which has been explained as what they are, and this is the theosophical man and his principles. Why is it important to know these? It is very important because if we don't know who we are and how we can change, how would we bring that change about? Because we know that the body changes. In fact, in most of the writings, it is stated that every 7 years, the body that we had known is no longer there. It has changed because its molecular constitution changes. So what holds that molecular constitution together? It's the astral body, the electromagnetic design body that keeps it together. And every 7 years, the physical body changes. Why is the astral body important? Because it is the repertoire of our feelings and emotions, and it stores it. And what controls human beings at this stage is their feelings and emotions. We decide what to do about situations with the input that comes from the outside, and we are not even aware that our emotions have the tendency to respond because it is as fast as the thought itself. We are aware of our thought processes most of the time, even if we don't control them. But the emotions and sensations that we receive from the outer world is very fast. We give responses to situations through our emotions, and this is where it is stored. And the lower mind works with this desire principle in humanity at this time. It is the most developed, and it controls all our activities most of the time. This lower mind is the intellectual mind, and this is where scientific men are. They know that we have an intellectual mind, but in the literature it is stated that this mind actually pulls one downward because our desires at this stage is personal. What needs to change then is our orientation. So we said then, through the creative intelligence, nobility of the heart, and the profundity of the sacrifice of noble individuals, there are results that are noticeable and recorded through historical era. That is what the scientific world today is promulgating still, that when the man dies, so all the other aspects of him too, because they consider man as mortal, and when his physical body is no longer there, he does not exist. So, in theosophy then, we are immortal, because our own inherent nature is changeless, birthless, deathless, and eternal, as we just read in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is giving this philosophy to Arjuna, which is each one of us, the student, and in 18 chapters of that tiny book, but it is the same philosophy. And it is stated there that we are immortal. Which part of us is immortal? Well, I have to erase this, sorry. We said that there is a spirit which is immortal. This is immortal. So, the spirit is immortal. What about substance, matter? It's also immortal. And this is the difference between science and philosophy or theosophy. We consider substance mortal, but it isn't. It is immortal. What is mortal is the form it occupies. The form is immortal, but the substance is not. Because in the secret doctrine we are told that these two aspects.
So the form is mortal, but the substance
Is not. Substance is immortal. But the form it occupies is mortal. It changes. We just said our body changes its constitution every 7 years because of its molecular constitution being changed. So substance is immortal. Science tries to get around it by saying that there's a force in human beings, and it comes about through the friction of the molecular constitution of man. Well, to us, that is body. Body is form, and it's not immortal. The body itself is not immortal. And that is why we don't remember. In each life we get a new body and a new intellectual mind, and that is why we don't remember that we have lived before, because that comes up a lot in discussions as to why do I not remember who I am? Why? In this life I go to sleep, in the morning I wake up and I know that I have slept. I know who I was yesterday and the day before, and I will know tomorrow who I am also. But who is the knower? Who's the knower? Sorry.
Spirit?
Yeah. Self. The spirit. This self is the knower. This is I am I. I know who I am. I am I. But let us take a simile. We have the sun, which is self-luminous. It's self-luminous. It lives with its inherent light. Self-luminous, and it lives with its inherent light. And this self then is a ray from that sun, the spirit. And let us consider our physical body, that Tunjai Densler part of me, as the one that gets its light from this sun like the moon. So this personality then is the one that is being illuminated by the sun, the spiritual essence of each human being, which we call this triad here, which is limitless, it's deathless, it is permanent, because it goes from life to life to life. And what does it do? It uses the body to gather honey. What is the honey? Our experiences, what we have learned, and what it can assimilate to itself, it will do so. So in each life then, we come out as a different personality, but the individuality, the sun, the ray, individuality is the same.